welcome to Oceanic Oracle. My name is Ari and today I thought I would go through my favourite books of 2021. I have a list on my laptop. I'm going to be summarising, I guess. I'm also going to be sticking up the copies that I don't have because some of these copies are at my grandparents' house in the UK. I didn't bring them back with me after getting stuck in the UK, so they're not here. But I thought I would go through my list. All of these books I've rated 5 stars this year, and some of the 5 stars didn't make it. They're actually going to be in a almost favourites video, so there's a variety of those too. Without further ado, shall we get on with my list? There is quite a lot of stuff to go through. The first book that I have on this list is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I read this in January, all the way back in January, and I loved it. This is about Bree. Bree is mourning the loss of her mother, a very recent loss. The way that grief is handled in this book is done extremely well. At the beginning of this book, Bree's mother has just died, so she is in the mourning process. This book follows Bree on her trip to UNC, so University of North Carolina, where she's going to be studying or taking part in this program for the next 2 years. While she's there, she bumps into some weird goings on campus. One thing that I can tell you that isn't spoilery is this is a reimagining of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I love this book. The characters are great. I loved the King Arthur type character in this book. His name's Nick. This book is about both Western magics as well as African magic systems. There is root magic representation. I can't wait for the sequel that's coming out next year. It's on it's on my most anticipated books for next year, but that will be coming probably in at the start of January because I'm taking December off. There we go. So that was my favourite of January. My second favourite is a book I also read in January, and that book is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. I actually read this on Kindle with this cover. The reason I read this book was because of the Bridgerton series that was released at Christmas Day last year. I watched, I think, 1 episode of that show, and then I decided I'm going to go out and actually read the book before I continue the rest, which was an interesting experience. I like the show a lot more because of its representation and all that sort of stuff. And after reading the first book in the series, I went and read the rest of them. And this book, this is the 4th book in the series, and it features Colin. Colin was my favourite in the books, and he's also my favourite in the TV show. I'm very partial to Colin. I love his characterization. In the first 3 books especially, Colin is he's just the best. This book follows Colin and his relationship with another character. I don't know, does it say on the front? No, it doesn't say on the front, but I guess you might be able to tell based on the female in this picture. I love this story. I love this romance. I just love this book. Colin has been traveling abroad and hasn't been present in the London seasons because he has wanted to escape London, which is fair enough. And this book features the reveal of Lady Whistledown as well. So the main female character also undergoes a lot. The main female character in this book is considered a wallflower. She's considered past her prime, and she's considered a spinster. And Colin actually sees her for who she is, which is great. And I just love it. It's one of my favourite romance novels of the year. So Romancing Mr. Bridgerton definitely makes it in my top books of 2021. The next book that I have on my list is a book I picked up in February, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I don't have my copy here because it's in the UK, but I love this book. This book follows Paige Mahoney. It's a sort of sci-fi fantasy branching off, it's a sci-fi fantasy book, and it branches off from our timeline, the timeline that we're in, after the reign of Queen Victoria. So as opposed to the monarchy still being around in the UK, the branched off reality that the Bone season takes place in is actually gets rid of the monarchy, and there's a society that rules like the normal class. There's clairvoyance, and they have a whole magic system. There are 7 levels in these clairvoyants, and they're not able to use their powers in public because it's forbidden, it's against the law. Paige accidentally uses her power one day when she's traveling home, and she gets located and taken away, where she meets this group of aliens who actually have been helping run the country ever since Queen Victoria died. I really enjoyed this book. I really like Samantha Shannon's writing. I love it, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read the sequel and continue the series. It's an ongoing series. There are going to be 7 books, and book 4 was released earlier this year, so I have a few books to catch up with. The next book on this list is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. So this book and this series is actually inspired by the Roman Empire. It follows this girl whose parents were actually in the rebellion. So there is a rebellion in this, and her parents were leaders in the rebel party. Her brother stole some plans from someone high up in the empire. She goes and finds the rebels, tries to convince them to save him because he's been taken to a prison. To do that, she has to go undercover as a slave to this really bad military camp, and this military camp is where she meets the main male character. It was really, really interesting. I loved this take on this empire, and I really like Sabaa Tahir's writing. If you're looking for a good like fantasy book, it's not romance heavy, I recommend this one. I really enjoyed it, and I love the sequel. I still have to finish it. Like, I have so many series I need to finish, but there you go. That's it. The next book on my list is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This is an adult romance. This book follows Stella Lane. She is a woman who has Asperger's, and her parents think it's time for her to find a husband. The thing is, she doesn't like dating, she doesn't like sex, and she thinks the only way to get around this, to learn to like it, is to hire someone to teach her. Enter our main male character, Michael. Michael is an escort. He earns money to help with his mum's medical bills by being a male escort, and this time he gets hired to meet Stella. Stella initially hires him for one night, and then she actually makes a request for him to continue the tutelage. Michael doesn't actually do repeats, but he decides that he will for her, and it sort of goes on from there. Stella hires him to teach her how to have a relationship, and then they catch feelings. I love this book. Helen Huang is a Vietnamese writer. She also is autistic. This book has that representation. I really love Helen Huang's writing. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I love this book. I've reread it. It's just great, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants a steamy adult romance. The next book that I have on this list is also in the UK, and it is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. The sequel has just come out, and that is on my Christmas list. These Violent Delights is a book inspired by Romeo and Juliet. It takes place in the 1920s in Shanghai. I love this book. I really enjoy reading books set in China. I love this book especially because I've studied Mandarin ever since I was born, really. I went to school in Taiwan. I was in public school for 4 years, and then when I moved back here, I kept up Mandarin all the way throughout my years of school. And this book has pinyin in it. Pinyin is the Chinese alphabet, and when you have these words together, you actually have sentences and words. This book has pinyin in it, and it made my experience so great. I love the story. I really, really want to read the sequel. So I'm hoping I get that for Christmas from my family. Fingers crossed. There are supernatural elements to it. So it's historical fiction, but also I guess, supernatural. There is a monster in this that actually comes from the river. I just love this book. I love Roma and Juliet, like, hate, like, they loved each other, now they hate each other, and are they going to love each other again? Probably. But I just love it, and I can't wait to read the sequel. I am so excited. The next book I have on here is a book I read in April, and this is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I loved Cemetery Boys. So it is Own Voices. Aidan Thomas is Latinx. He's also a trans author, and this book follows a trans main character called Yadriel. Yadriel is trying to prove himself to his family. So he comes from a family of brujos and brujas. So he actually has a connection to the dead. Their family lives on their cemetery, and they guide ghosts in their afterlife. They get rid of malignant spirits who are hanging around. And this book takes place the week of Halloween. And in this book, Yadriel successfully completes his ceremony to become a brujos. So he actually gets granted the gifts that are given to all brujos, and he had to do this behind his family's back because the family didn't want to risk anything happening. Yadriel's new gifts allow him to free spirits from the dead, and he actually stumbles upon someone's ghost, and he actually brings them to, like, ghostly life and tries to release their spirit from the world, but fails. And so he's stuck with this ghost and trying to figure out what actually happened to this ghost's real body, because he's only found the actual, like, an actual souvenir from this person that meant a lot to them. So that's why the spirit is able to stay around. It's great. I love the story. I read this in April and I reread it in October. It's a great book, and I think if you're looking for sort of like a spooky book, trans representation, as well as other aspects of the LGBTQ plus community, I highly recommend it. It's great, and I think lots of people will enjoy it. It's a YA book, so it's very accessible to people. It's great. I highly recommend it. The next book on this list is At Your Age, Eve Brown. At Your Age, Eve Brown was Talia Hibbett's most recent release, and it's part of the Brown Sisters trilogy. My sister kindly gave me these two books for Christmas last year, and I read them last year. So this was the newest release, and I knew I wanted to go and finish the series. I love Eve Brown. She was my favourite side character in both of these books. I love all the Brown sisters, but I think Eve's book is my favourite of the three of them. I just love Eve. The main male character is Jacob. He is autistic, and so there's that representation in there as well. This book follows Eve Brown. Eve Brown has sort of jumped around different jobs. She wanted to be a wedding planner, she wanted to own a bakery, she wanted to do this, she wanted to do that. So she was job hopping, and as soon as something became difficult, she gave up. She didn't want to do it anymore. So her parents are sort of sick of it and tell her she needs to get a job, and she needs to show them that she can keep a job for a year in order to get access to her trust fund money. So Eve runs off. She's not happy. She runs off. She ends up in the Lake District. While she's in the Lake District, she stumbles upon a bed and breakfast, and they are actually looking to hire a new chef because the old chef has gone off after winning the lottery. Jacob is the owner of this B&B, and he, with the help of his local friend, his friend who works at the pub, are looking for new chefs. And Eve enters. Jacob doesn't know what to expect from her. They interview her. Jacob is sort of unsure what to think about Eve. She leaves and she goes off to sit in front of the local bakery. In her car, she is feeling a bit emotional. Jacob and his buddy actually have a discussion while she goes off. She goes off to sit in her car, and they actually decide to give her a trial run. So Jacob and his friend go off looking for her. Jacob finds her, and then Eve accidentally hits him with the back of her car. giving him a concussion. So she has to help him because he can't run the B&B without help, and she's the one who sort of put him in the situation. So this follows their romance and the relationship between the two of them. I love this, and I think like this was just what I wanted. I loved it. Eve is also very musical, very artsy, so there's that in there as well if you want that in a character. I just love it. It's just a good book and I can't sing its praises enough. The next book that I have on here is The Spanish Love Deception. I read this in June, I believe. The Spanish Love Deception follows Catalina Martin, and she goes back to Spain because her sister is getting married. She's told her family in Spain that she has an American boyfriend, and sure, she'll bring him along to the wedding. The only issue is she doesn't actually have an American boyfriend. So after failing to find someone, one of her co-workers, who she really doesn't like, overhears her plight and offers his assistance. He says, I can pretend to be your boyfriend. It's only for a weekend, right? Little does she know that this sort of jaunt will turn into something she doesn't expect. Everything that she has been feeling about him changes over this trip. She discovers a side of him that she hasn't actually seen, and she loves it. She learns that she really enjoys his company and that she actually likes him, and this is sort of their story. She doesn't know if she's better off like keeping up this lie or actually telling people the truth in the end, but yeah, it's great. I love this book. I enjoy the family banter and the stuff that they get up to in Spain. I really enjoyed the main male character in this book, Alan Blackwood. If you know, you know. But yeah, it's a good book. It's a great adult romance. It is a bit long if you're not used to reading long romances, but I really loved it, and yeah, I think it's a great book and you should definitely check it out if you want an adult romance. The next book on this list is, oh, you guessed it, another adult romance. It's You and Me on Vacation. This was Emily Henry's release of this year, and I absolutely love this book. This book follows Poppy and her best friend, who she hasn't seen in over 3 years, I believe. They used to go on holiday every single year together. Every summer they used to go somewhere together, but they've recently lost contact. Poppy reaches out to him because the last time she was truly happy was when she was on holiday with him. So she reaches out to him in order to like figure out what was actually going on and why she hasn't been happy since. It's a friends to lovers book, obviously, and I loved it. I ate it up. I really enjoy Emily Henry's writing. I did read Beach Read as well this year, but of the two of the books, You and Me on Vacation is top. Like, it is my favourite, hands down. I just love the banter between the two characters. I enjoy the plot because this book actually jumps from different times, so you read about the different trips that the pair have been on and you see their relationship throughout the years, and I really appreciate that. I love this book. I love the friends to lovers trope, so I'm very partial to it. I had a fun time reading it. The next book that I have on here is Ray Bearer by Jordan Efueko. I love this book. This book is so good. This book is an African inspired fantasy, and it follows this it's about this continent with all these different countries. It's about this royal family. Our main character, was it Tarisai? Tarisai, she's always longed for the warmth of her family, but her mother has never given her that. Her mother, who doesn't have a name and she's only known as the lady, she raises her in isolation and away from everyone. She's not allowed to go out into public, and her mother is absent. When Tarisai comes of age, she gets sent to the royal palace, and all these years of training actually plays a role in what goes on. In order to get into the palace and into this area, you have to be pure of heart. So there was a reason that Tarisai was raised in isolation. The whole point of her going to the capital is to be chosen to be one of the Prince's Council of 11. And in order to actually be considered for this trial, she had to be pure of heart, so hence why the lady did what she did. The thing that makes this council special is this thing called the ray. The ray connects all of their consciousness together, and it's a bond that is deeper than blood. The lady actually gives Tarisai an order before she leaves for this trial, and her order is for her to kill the prince as soon as she gets close to him, as soon as she gains his trust. Quite high stakes. I love this book. I love this magic system. It is beautiful. This is one of my favorite YA fantasy series out there, and if you're considering picking it up, I highly recommend it. I loved it. The next book on here, if you're looking for a thriller as opposed to fantasy or romance, this is the book for you. I'm talking about Ace of Spades. This book is about the only two black students at an all-white school, and the best way I can describe it is it's Gossip Girl meets Get Out, and that's a very apt description. It's a conversation on racism and institutionalized racism that is present in all sort of structures. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was like, there were moments I was just like, I have no idea, like I didn't know what to expect. It follows the two black students at this school. So the head prefect, Chamika, has been striving to be the top of her class, be at the top of her game. She is the queen bee at the school. And the other character, Devon, he has always sort of been in the background. He loves music. He wants to go and study music at Juilliard. Both of them see the school as a gateway to these sort of prestigious universities that they both want to go to. But someone called Aces has started blackmailing them. They have clips of people they have interacted with, stuff about themselves that aren't known to the public, and overall they're just out to ruin their lives and potentially kill them. It is a great thriller. This book is just fantastic. Both main characters are also a part of the LGBTQ+ community, so there is that as well. It's just fantastic. This book was a great thriller and I can't sing its praises enough. The next book that I have on this list is From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. This was the first Mariana Zapata book that I actually read. I have read a few now. I just love this book. This is about two figure skaters, an individual soloist, Jasmine Santos, and Ivan Lukov, who has always been a pairs figure skater. His latest partner has, and Jasmine gets offered a position to be his replacement for the year. Jasmine has sort of lost all hope in her sort of singles career. So after some consideration, because Jasmine hates Lukov. She is best friends with Ivan's sister, but they've sort of drifted apart after Ivan started winning competition after competition. Ivan's last name is up all over the place at the local skating rink, and Jasmine decides to give it a go. She says if she doesn't make it, this will be her last chance to win something. I loved Jasmine's character. You get sort of no nonsense, as well as like the sort of like no nonsense character, but then also just like extremely sarcastic. I loved it. Ivan is like, he's one of my like favorite book boyfriends I think from this year, and like, oh, the stuff that they do for each other in the end is just spectacular. Mariana Zapata writes really long slow burn books, so this is very slow burn and it's just so good. The next book I have on this list is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This book, according to people online, has really good representation for the asexual identity. I love this. The main character in this book, Georgia, she's actually questioning things about herself because she hasn't actually had a crush on anyone all her years like growing up at school. Lots of people thought that she had a crush on someone and she thought that what she was feeling was normal. And this book does a great job at introducing the idea of asexual and aromantic identities. It's great for asexual representation. Georgia goes about discovering things about herself. This takes place Georgia's first year at university. She goes to Durham in the UK. It's about life and saying that there's more to life than romantic love. You have friendship, you have family. It's just beautiful, and it takes you on a roller coaster. It's sort of like what you expect in everyday life. It's not a straight cookie cutter story. It's got hardships. You go on an emotional roller coaster, and it's about a learning journey, and it's great. Anything Alice Oseman writes is beautiful. I love her Heartstopper series as well. It's so good. Like, it's just beautiful, and I think it's great if you are looking to learn about the asexual identity. I think this is a great place to start if you're looking to learn more about different aspects of it. The next book that I have on this list is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Beaulier. This story follows a biracial girl. She's half white, half indigenous. Her name is Dornis. She finds it hard to fit in, both in her hometown and on Ojibwe Reserve. Dornis dreams of going to school and studying medicine, but when her family gets hit by tragedy, her plans come to a halt. She puts her plans on hold for a year. The only thing that really offsets this experience is her meeting this guy called Jamie. Jamie is new in town and is playing for the local ice hockey team, which Dornis's brother is actually a part of. But something's a bit odd about him. As she falls for him, details about his life don't add up. Everything sort of comes to light when Dornis witnesses a murder, and it thrusts her into the world of an FBI investigation. Dornis agrees to go undercover, and she agrees to help the FBI find out what's going on in her community because it impacts everyone in her community. And it's all about seeing how far she'll go to protect her community, even if it means tearing apart the world, the only world she's ever known. It's a thriller. Again, this is Dornis is 18 years old, so you can sort of class it as YA, or I classed it as new adult, but I was crying at the end of this book. It hits so hard. I loved it. I did not see the twists coming, and I cannot sing this book's praises enough. It was stunning. Go pick it up if you're looking for a new YA/new adult thriller. Now on to the last few. The next book is actually going to be a book series I'm talking about, and that is the Shadow and Bone series. I'm not bothered to pick up the rest of them because my shelf is already in enough disarray. But yes, the Shadow and Bone series by Leigh Bardugo. I read all three of them, all three of these books actually for the first time ever. I had read the first one before, but I cannot sing these books' praises enough. This is Leigh Bardugo's debut series. It takes place in the Grishaverse. If you've seen Shadow and Bone on Netflix, this is what it is based on. Parts of this book and Six of Crows, which I have behind me. This book was inspired by Russian folklore to an extent. This book follows Alina Starkov. She is an orphan, and she's a recruit in the First Army. One day she gets sent across this shadow fold, which has been around for years, and no one can work out how to get rid of it. They're all waiting for a miracle to somehow get rid of the fold. And Shadow and Bone is about Alina's journey. Alina actually discovers that she isn't as normal as everyone expects. I love this. This series is so fun. Leigh Bardugo's writing is just beautiful, and I love it. I loved reading these three. I can't wait to, I am currently reading Crooked Kingdom, and I'm going to be reading King of Scars and Rule of Wolves at the end, in December, so they might also be a new favourite, but they won't be able to make this list. I love this series. I like Leigh Bardugo's writing, and I really enjoyed watching the Netflix show as well. So there's that. The second to last book on this list is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This book is beautiful. I love this book, but then I'm a woman in STEM, and this is about women in STEM. This book follows third year PhD student Olive. She is working in the lab one night after telling her friend that she'd actually was going out on a date, and her friend stumbles into the lab and sees Olive there. So Olive does the first thing she can think of. She kisses the nearest male co-worker. Turns out it's this professor who is quite harsh on people. Harsh but fair. It's about them faking a relationship because Olive wants her friend to be comfortable dating her ex-boyfriend, because Olive's ex-boyfriend and her best friend clearly have feelings for each other, but they don't want to hurt Olive. So Olive wants to make it seem like she has moved on, which she has, but her friend won't believe that until she has a significant other. And it's about them faking that relationship. Also about Olive having ideas and possibly transferring to different places. It's great. I really, really like this book. It just made my heart so warm, because I don't really see much women in STEM representation in romance novels. Like, I just fell in love with this book because I have worked in a lab, I've done lab work, I've been there at university, and it just warmed my heart and I loved it. And I think if you're looking for a warm romance, there's also discussion on like how women are treated in STEM fields, and I think that is something that more people need to have a discussion about, because as a woman in STEM, it doesn't get talked about enough. And I think this book is a good way to actually lead the discussion on topics like the way men view women and their ideas. Finally, this is the last book that I have on this list. The last book that I have as a favourite of 2021 is Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan. This came out in October and I loved it. Rick Riordan is one of my favourite authors. I mean, if you couldn't tell by my shelf up there, it's basically just my Rick Riordan collection. But this book follows Anna Decker, who is the last known descendant of Captain Nemo, who commanded the Nautilus, which is the submarine you can see on the front cover here. Sorry, this book is really reflective and my light is just shining it off. So this book follows Anna Decker. She is studying at the prestigious Harding Pencroft Academy, but this rival school, the Land Institute, ends up attacking Harding Pencroft when Anna is actually leaving campus, and she sees her school getting destroyed. This is because Harding Pencroft and the Land Institute have been in a sort of Cold War-esque fight for many years, and they have finally gone up on their threat towards each other. Anna is being pursued by the Land Institute, and they will stop at nothing to acquire the secrets she has and the secrets of her family, aka of Captain Nemo. It's great. I love this book. Harding Pencroft is a prestigious underwater exploration school, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It's just what I wanted. If I was 15 and I had this book, I would have probably chosen to be an underwater explorer. But I'm a marine biologist, which is sort of the same thing-ish. I loved it and I can't sing its praises enough. Yes, it's middle grade. Anna Decker is 15 years old in this. It's so good. It's such a good book. And if I was 15 and I read this, I would definitely want to be an underwater explorer. Rick Riordan's writing doesn't miss. I haven't read a book of his that I don't like yet, so that's it. Oh my god. I don't know how many books I've gone through. There's so many. That brings me to the end of my favourite books of 2021. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I am releasing more videos throughout the month of December. My next video will be up in 2 days. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want more bookish content. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching this. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.